looking at, basically. All right, we're rolling. So,
Hi, I'm Bruce, and we're in a polytunnel up in Clough Jordan, and it's a fairly small polytunnel from agricultural standards, but we've got huge productivity. It's just shy of the solstice, and we've already had a huge crop of lettuce in here, and now it's being replaced by courgettes or zucchini for those in other parts of the world. And
so it's this. I mean, it's this huge, massive green. It's like,
it's
this
massive green.
waist-high wall of plant.
There's 14 plants in here. They've had very good warmth. They're much bigger than they would be outside. They don't have wind. They've got much more warmth. They've had a lot more water, or more consistent water, and better fertility. And they pay back with huge abundance. This is about a third of the harvest we'd get in a week.
A third of what you get in a week.
In a week, yeah.
From one strip of plants.
From one strip of plants. Now that's a lot of courgettes, but when you've got 50 families to feed on the Clough Jordan Community Farm, it's not enough. So we'd need at least double or triple this to supply demand,
like
or to exceed demand, before people start getting really sick of them.
But that's, I mean, what's amazing is that it's not very much land.
No, it's not very much
this
land.
is a strip of what, 50 square meters or something like that.
Well, this particular strip is probably it's about 15 square meters.
Okay.
Maybe 20 if you count sort of a little bit of the path and stuff, and you can grow a huge amount.
So
especially if it's covered.
So 20 square meters of covered area is producing a third of the courgettes for 50 families.
About that.
That's
So
amazing.
I would see for most families, they probably one good healthy courgette plant will supply them with all the courgettes they need while that plant is producing.
Got it.
Right. And for a courgette plant to get really big, you want it to have about a square meter.
Yeah.
So 50 square meters, half of this polytunnel could theoretically supply all the courgette. The courgette needs now, if you have an abundance, and people start doing all kinds of crazy things with courgettes.
Yeah.
But
That, I mean, in terms of sort of my thinking about this kind of stuff, right? I mean, you always sort of think, well, is there enough land? And what you're saying is, well, if you farm properly, there's plenty of land.
yeah, it depends what you want to eat, what you want to grow.
Yeah.
But this is a crop that's only available. It's an incredibly abundant crop. It's only available for, well, we started harvesting this about 3 weeks ago, so give or take the beginning of June. These plants, if they have enough space, which they might not, and they keep getting proper fertility and they keep getting a chance to grow abundantly, you can't imagine them growing more than this, but they have to keep growing in order to produce more courgettes.
Yeah.
And they'll produce for probably another month. Might be able to get another month and a half out of them. And by that time, hopefully the stuff in the field will be coming in.
Got it.
And the ones in the field won't be as productive per square meter, but we've got many more square meters and many more plants, so that at a field scale it's different.
So it's kind of like, I mean, I'm sort of thinking, the polytunnel itself, right? I mean, it's a couple, 2 millimeters of plastic over a very simple steel frame.
Yeah.
And the difference it makes in climate in here is that in here feels like rainforest, and out there is kind of windswept and quite cold.
Yes. So keeping out the wind is the biggest thing. And then in Ireland, so it's keeping out the wind is the biggest thing. Keeping in a little bit of the heat is good, but keeping it from getting too hot is then the issue.
It's basically, it's like a sort of microclimate jungle. So you've got jungle productivity for 2 millimeters of plastic sheet in a little steel frame.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
It's kind of amazing, but as soon as you do this, all of a sudden the amount of work you need to put into it goes up exponentially.
Okay, so it's
so it's high value space and it's expensive space.
Yeah.
But I need to be in here every 2 days at least watering.
Got it.
You need to set up some kind of complex system for automatic watering, or I need to come in and do it by hand, and so it's a lot of water. We did a bit of calculations that if you have all these plants are transpiring. If you come in here before I vented it, if you come in here, it would be incredibly humid. 100% humidity, very warm, 100% humidity, huge amount of water coming out, and those are the plants using transpiration to both draw up nutrients, but then more importantly, in this kind of climate, to cool down.
Got it.
In order to do that in this kind of heat, the heat that you can get in a polytunnel, it needs more water than it would need outside.
Okay, and of course they're going to get less efficient cooling because it's into either evaporative cooling in a wet environment.
Evaporative cooling in a wet environment, so you need to use even more of it. So it is a balance, or it isn't a panacea. You do have to maintain it. And we did a bit of calculations the other day that if you had a full canopy, this whole place full of plants, and really, as this is starting to approach, in another couple of weeks you'll walk down here and you will hardly be able to sort of see because the beans will be billowing out.
Yes.
In a polytunnel of this size, this is about 5 meters by 20 meters. In a polytunnel of this size, you would need something like 600 to 700 liters of water a day, a sunny day, to counteract the transpiration.
Wow.
That's how much water is actually can be transpired by full abundant leafy plants. So finding
Wow. But I mean,
600.
that water's just coming. It's coming into the atmosphere, right? So
it's coming. Well, it's also going into courgettes are very very they're full of water. They're packed full of water. So
actually,
each
show me the courgettes on the plants.
The courgettes on the plant. The one here, I just harvested. I just picked them off. Okay. So you have a couple of courgettes. That's down here. So that's a female flower right there.
Yep.
That has the fruit where that is going to open up tomorrow.
Yep.
Right. And whereas that right there is a male flower without the fruit.
Yes.
So it's a stem all the way up to the base, and that because I contend because the color is going to fruit tomorrow.
Got it. And the fruit,
And
so
then,
the fruit becomes this part here. Is that what
so
turns
that
it? That's
that,
what turns into
that
fruit.
becomes a fruit. This opened this morning or possibly yesterday,
Yep.
and then this one is probably 2 days old.
There's the courgette.
Yeah. And so some people would harvest it at that stage. That would be preferred. So 1 or 2 days old is an ideal stage to harvest courgettes. I come in here and I harvest anything that's sort of edible every 2-3 days.
Yep.
And some of them you miss one and you miss one for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden it's a massive big mound.
Yeah, there's another one. It's just amazing because it's just like, I feel dumb. Like, I literally, came in and I didn't realize that courgettes didn't grow below the ground. I thought they were like a, what do you call this, root vegetable, tuber. No, it grows in the plant. It's fruit. Tell me about the beans.
The beans, these are climbing French beans. They wouldn't grow very well in the Irish climate. It's just not warm enough. But in here, they're very, very abundant. So I planted, I think it was 40 stations. Yeah, something like that. So 40 seeds. And actually, it might have been 80 seeds because we had 2 stations, 2 seeds per station.
Mm-hmm.
They're already up to the top of the support. I'm going to have to start pinching them off, or else they'll start billowing down and shading, self-shading. Then I set up new supports, and we already starting to have them flowering, and already starting to have beans starting to form.
Got it.
So, again, this is the solstice. We could have planted them earlier, and we might have had them earlier, but with the weather that we've had, this is no way you could get beans like this outside at this until even August. The weather that we've had lately, you wouldn't be able to get beans even if you got them until maybe mid-July or August. And so this is so we'll probably start harvesting these by the beginning of July, and there will be a huge crop, a very, very abundant crop. It's hard to tell how much. We're talking French beans, nice. This is a nice hardy long variety, and you could easily get 100 beans per plant.
Got it.
At that kind of, and so it's not sure how much of the demand that would satisfy.
Yeah.
Because it's an interesting thing. The vast majority of people here in Clark Jordan don't go out and buy French beans.
Right. But if you've got beautiful French
If
beans
you've got
on your
beautiful
doorstep,
French beans on your doorstep, and they're abundant, and why not have them every night?
absolutely.
And so the
because
demand,
you change your food habit depending on
change your
what's
food
good
habit,
to eat
yeah.
locally. Like I'm sort of like I'm never normally one to eat potatoes. Normally I'm a rice-based creature. But we've got all these great potatoes.
and they're new potatoes, fresh out of the ground.
Yeah.
The best way to have them.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Cool. Splendid. What's happening over in the other polytunnel?
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Got a bit of, and the tomatoes are just starting to produce. There's a bit of nutritional deficiencies in there that are showing up, which I'm trying to correct. And some soil. There was a new polytunnel. We didn't prep the soil as well as we should have, and it's resulting in more work and more effort and less healthy plants at the moment.
Got it.
So it's not quite as. It still looks impressive, but when you look in there, it does. You can tell. A trained eye would tell that there's some deficiencies in there.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are coming on. They look reasonably well. We've had a couple of them that have ripened, but I'd say it's probably going to be another 2 weeks before we actually get enough to supply. There's no point putting 3 or 4 tomatoes up in the farmhouse for 50 families.
Well, I'll come back up when the tomatoes are ready, and then you can tell me about the tomatoes.
Okay.
There's one other bit that you've mentioned in the past that I wanted to get on camera while I'm here, which is tell me a little bit about soil fertility. Like how
Soil fertility.
Yeah, like
Do you have several hours?
Well, right. Just what are you doing to the soil that makes it possible for a plant like this to come out?
You need to provide all the fertility. Fertility is usually just nitrogen, and all plants need nitrogen. It's the most abundant demand that plants would need.
So you're coming in here
by
with a bag of NPK fertilizer every morning. No, okay. So where are you getting your nitrogen from?
Where are we getting our nitrogen from? Nitrogen's coming from a bunch of different sources. There's a fair amount of compost added in at the beginning of the year. Underneath each of the tomato or each of the courgette plants, I went in with a shovel out into the field, chased the horses, and captured some of their, picked up some of their droppings.
Yep.
About a wheelbarrow load and a half of horse droppings, most of them trying to get the fresher ones.
Yeah.
A shovel and a bit went in the bottom of each. I dug a pit and put a shoveler.
So they're planted directly on top of their own
directly on
pile of
top
horse crop.
of horse crop. And so as that decomposes, the courgette is able to handle it. Not all plants are able to handle it, but the courgettes are able to handle it.
Okay.
And then I've been topping it off with, I also added a whole bunch of seaweed meal, seaweed dust, to add a certain amount of trace minerals that might be missing, that I assume are missing from the soil. I don't necessarily know which ones, but
Safe
I know
bet that something
it's a
will
safe
be.
bet. It's deficient. I can guarantee you, absolutely, it's deficient. I know it has about a third of the boron it should have. It doesn't have nearly as much magnesium as it should. It doesn't have a lot of things, and that's something I'm going to have to work on over time.
Got it. It's quite interesting to me to see this kind of balance of like high tech and organic. The reason the organic is working is because you've got the scientific background, the analytical mindset, the exactly what elements aren't in the soil and where are we going to get them. That to actually make this work, you need to look at it, through both lenses.
Yeah,
or maybe it's one
faster.
lens.
It's faster to look to it. I believe it's faster. Some people take an approach that, over time you can learn what plants grow well and what plants don't. You can notice deficiencies, like you can obviously see the magnesium deficiency in the tomatoes is apparent.
Yeah.
You can see it. Whereas somebody look at these plants and say, oh yeah, they're perfectly healthy, not a bother on them. But chances are they're deficient in something. They just aren't showing it.
Yeah.
Right. Just like I might be deficient in something, but I don't necessarily show
Oh, that's very interesting. That's
that I'm
very
deficient
subtle.
in something.
So basically, your plant nutrients equals vitamins.
Yeah.
And the plants could be a bit short of something, and the whole thing is a little stressed, but they're
The whole
not
thing's a
short
little
enough
stressed.
of it to get sick.
Not sure enough of it to show. And so if a plant is showing, my basic thesis that if a plant is showing obvious deficiencies in something, then you're way too late.
So it's plant rickets, right? By the time your plant has rickets, your plant has a problem.
Your plant has a problem.
On that note, thank you.